Happy Friday, everyone. This is The Sweat, and I'm your host, Reid Fowler, for what will be the best show we've ever put on. Well, not because I finally get to host this show without the likes of Adam Kaufman, but because we have our top analysts breaking down everything from weekend golf at the 3M Open, NFL team previews, the Home Run Derby, along with tonight's MLB slate, and we have also some great interviews lined up as well. Some Women's World Cup betting lines with DK Sportsbook Johnny Avello, and as always, we'll hear from Mike Francesa, talking everything from NFL to the NBA free agency. Already failing. I didn't even start. It's like 1 minute. But enough from me. Let's get right into our first segment with the only other guy not spending time with his family on this holiday Friday, Steve Buchanan. Bukes. The field has been revealed for the Home Run Derby taking place during the MLB's All-Star festivities in Cleveland. But before we get into the specifics, does the bracket setup with players going head-to-head make this harder or easier to try and navigate from a betting perspective? What do you think?
I think it's a little bit easier because if you look at some of the matchups that they have lined up here, if you feel strongly that a particular player can knock out somebody else, obviously that helps them move on into some of the later rounds. The way the Home Run Derby has always been set up is that it's just kind of everybody against the field. Now it's kind of, some guys might not even see some of the other ones that they have here in the field. So I do like this a lot better from a betting perspective, because if you can nail down some of these matchups, like I said, that you like in particular, it definitely helps from a betting perspective.
Yeah, well, you see on the screen there, Josh Bell is the current favorite at plus 300. What do you think? Should he be the betting favorite?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, he's been somebody that's been hitting so well almost the entire season here. But, from a betting perspective, you're only getting 3-1 odds on your money here. You look at some of the other guys here in the field, and one thing you really want to focus on here is the lefties in Progressive Field. Progressive Field favors left-handed bats so much more than righties. We have, quite a few lefties in this contest here. We got Christian Yelich, 375, Jock Peterson at 900, Carlos Santana at 1,000. I mean, these are all guys that have a legitimate shot to win this thing here. I mean, it really doesn't favor much when you look at, what they've done in the past. It's whatever. These are all meatballs that these guys are getting here when they're in the Home Run Derby here. So if you like some of them, some of the lefties in this one here, I have no problem taking any of those other guys as well. But, at least just for the money you're getting, 3-1 odds, not that great when really any of these guys could take down the event.
Yeah, and you see there on the screen again at plus 1,100, the longest odds, Acuna and Bregman. Do you have any idea? Would you take a flyer on either of these guys?
I mean, honestly, either one is fine here. But, between the two here, I kind of like Bregman a little bit more. I mean, you look at what he's doing so far this season. His career high in home runs is 31. He already has 23 through 85 games this season. The 31 that he had last year was through 157 games. So obviously he's seeing the ball well, he's hitting the ball well, and now it's kind of right in his wheelhouse. Lucky ball. I like Bregman a lot here in this spot. I think this is going to be a really nice a spot for him here, and especially at the odds that you're getting, no problem taking Bregman here in this spot at all.
Yeah, so it sounds like you want to get obviously your most favorable odds, but who is your favorite play out of these guys?
I love Jock Peterson at the odds here, especially. Like I mentioned, left-handed here in Progressive Field. And you look at what he's done with his home runs this season, 15 of the 20 that he's hit already kind of came at Dodger Stadium. Dodger Stadium is not a hitter-friendly ballpark. It favors pitchers so much. And if he's cracking 15 of his 20 home runs at Dodger Stadium, imagine what he's going to do here in Progressive Field. So for the odds that you're getting on him, and he's another one too, like during the regular season when he gets locked in, like he is mashing everything under the sun. So if he's getting pitches right down the middle at a hitter-friendly ballpark like Progressive Field, you really, really have to like his odds here. So Jock Peterson is someone I'm definitely going to be eyeing, definitely going to be looking to drop some dime on him.
Any love for Vlad Guerrero?
I mean, obviously, like I said, all these guys are worthy being in here. Like, there's nobody here that is undeserving. We've had a couple of guys in the past. It's like, I don't know what the hell this guy's doing in the contest. But, when you look at the home run totals, obviously Vlad's the only one who's not in double digits. But the home runs that he has just in a very short amount of time since he's been called up. So, I like the rookie kid making an impression. Obviously, that might be a little more, a boost for him to want to, make a name for himself here in the home run derby. But really, I like I said, I don't think you can go wrong with any of the guys in here. But as I mentioned earlier in the segment, I'm definitely leaning towards the lefties more than I am the right-handed bats, and Vlad is a right.
All right, bud. Good stuff. We'll see you in a little bit to talk some NFL and more MLB later In the show, we have Geoff Ulrich coming up next to talk some weekend golf at the 3M Open. But first, let's hear from Jonah Carey on who he likes at the Home Run Derby.
On Monday, Pittsburgh Pirates slugger Josh Bell smashed 3 home runs. Now, he's been among the league leaders in almost every single major offensive category this season, having a huge year. But here's one category in which he's way high up on the list, and yet nobody really talks about it. Extra base hits. Now, we think about the records in baseball history. We can recite them off by heart, right? 400. We know that Ted Williams is the last guy to hit 400. Home runs, we know that's Barry Bonds, 73 in 2001. An infamous and controversial season maybe, but those 73 home runs definitely count. RBIs, we got Hack Wilson with 191 RBIs. But how about extra base hits? We should pay tribute to doubles and triples here a little bit. And we can. The all-time leader for extra base hits in a season is the great Babe Ruth with 119 extra base hits in one season. He had a career-high 16 triples to go with 44 doubles and 59 home runs in one season back in 1921. Number 2 on the list, the great Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth's teammate. For the 1927 Murderers Row Yankees, he had 117 extra base hits. Number 3 on the list, based on the current pace through Tuesday's games, is Josh Bell. Josh Bell on pace for 110 extra base hits, just ahead of Barry Bonds' 2001 season in which he hit those 73 home runs. So let's look at our all-time list for extra base hits in the season. Number 1, Babe Ruth. Number 2, Lou Gehrig. And number 3 is our man Josh. For somebody whose name is Bell, that has a really nice ring to it.
All right, let's shift to some golf with my favorite analyst to argue with and everyone's second favorite golf analyst, obviously behind Jesse Cofield, Geoff Ulrich here. Geoff, you have the stage all to yourself, so don't screw this up. We have a few players like your boy Brooks Koepka, Hideki Matsuyama, Bryson DeChambeau as the only players that are listed at over 10,000 for this weekend. Who do you like best out of this bunch?
I mean, is Brooks even going to make the cut? He got it in at -3. Yeah. I don't even know if Brooks is going to make the weekend. So we can probably just cross Brooks Koepka off the list. It's going to be really close here. Cut's at -3 right now. Not really liking his chances. So it's really Hideki, Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, I get the idea that maybe you want to fade Bryson DeChambeau in weekend golf because he's already at -14. And you can't keep making that many birdies, can you? But I think I'd just play Bryson because we've seen him dominate in these weaker field events before. I mean, pretty much, you know, he's gotten wins at like the Shriners and the John Deere. He doesn't mind these Birdie Fest course where it's really easy. He can just go out and like bring his, geometry set out or whatever and calculate the angles on these very simple courses. And he just hits it close and he knows how to putt and play around the greens now. So he's definitely started to improve. I would just play Bryson and set it and forget it. Hideki's interesting, but as you saw today, I mean, he's still not really sharp. He's still not sharp enough to get a win because he's fallen back quite a bit today. So give me Bryson out of these 3. Like I said, looks like Koepka might not even be playing the weekend.
Yeah, it looks like Bryson is 5th in ball striking, so obviously he's hitting it very well. And it looks like Brooks, like you're right, is at 69th place, so we'll probably not going to make it the weekend. Hideki, always a guy who's probably going to land around 30th place. But who's someone you're high up on the leaderboard that we see are obviously like the Brysons, the Colin Morikawa, he's up there too as well. He's going to be cheap. Could you see some regression from one of these guys at the top over the final 2 rounds?
I mean, you can't really love the way Scott Piercy came out and played today. So, like losing strokes on approaches, wasn't that great with the putter around the greens. Obviously, he had a great start to the event. But, you look at the other players up there that you might be able to roster. A guy like Adam Hadwin, who's really coming on here late in the round. Like, he's gained, 5th in strokes gained approach now as the round's going on. I would probably play Hadwin over Scott Piercy. So Piercy might be a guy that I'd be leaning towards fading. And the other player that I'd mention is Sam Burns. And I like Sam Burns mainly because of the value pre-tournament, but he's like 62nd in ball striking right now, and he's putting well, and he's hitting it off the tee well, so give him credit for that. But, with those approach numbers, they might catch up to him over the weekend. Might be someone to consider fading as well. He might be a popular target because he's already up there. He's a good putter, but Sam Burns and Scott Piercy, probably the 2 names that stuck out to me the most at top. I don't know if you have any feelings, Reid. I mean, it's just the 2 of us. We don't need Emerson and Jesse. So, I mean, throw out some names, buddy, if you like these or not.
I mean, like the Sunjay Ims, I got to give it to you. He's up there. Charles Howard III, I mean, a guy that I liked pre-tournament, clearly in one of these secondary tournaments, a guy who's actually playing a lot better than we saw in the past. He's putting a little bit better. My boy Tony did not do so well, I think, today. It started off hot, but when you look at some of these guys like you're mentioning, I think Hideki is someone that I'm pretty interested in. And then, like I said, your boy Sanjay isn't a bad one as well.
I mean, if you can stack Hideki and Bryson in a lineup, I agree. I think that's a pretty good combo. Finau just didn't putt well today. He lost over 3 strokes on the greens, so he's hitting it a lot better. I mean, maybe you go Finau and one of the top 2, right? That might be the play.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Absolutely. So again, we talked about it. Which players who struggle in those first 2 rounds could be in line for a better run over the weekend? Who do you think? There's 3 players at -7 right now. They're all good young players. Wyndham Clark, Victor Hovland, Dylan Fratelli. All of these guys are ball striking well. Hovland's top 5 in ball striking. Fratelli's, I think, maybe second in approaches so far. And Wyndham Clark is just playing good all-around game. They're all at -7. If any of these guys' putters heat up over the weekend, they're going to go low. I think of the 3, Clark might be the most consistent, but I think Hovland's got the most upside for the weekend. Obviously, we know what he can do at the U.S. Open, la-di-da. I think most people know that story by now. But Fratelli's someone who could be really low-owned. I don't think most people know about him, but he's a really, really good young player from South Africa. He's got some wins like international. Was a good college player, too. So it's not like he's completely doesn't know how to play around the States or anything like that. I think it's a good venue for him, too. He's pretty long off the tee. So Fratelli, Hovland, Wyndham Clark, some guys down there at -7. I'd be really targeting for weekend golf. And you love Patrick Reed?
I think I'm a little bit worried about Patrick Reed just running out of gas right now. He started out well today, and then you saw him kind of fade towards the end of the round. He played 4 rounds, was in contention last week. I don't know. You got to pay up for Patrick Reed, right? So I think I'd be more inclined just to pay up for Matsuyama or Finau than Reed and go with these younger players to balance it off.
All right, last but not least, who's your slate approved for the weekend?
I'm going to go with Victor Hovland. I mean, his ball strike numbers are fantastic right now. He's lost strokes putting. He's still at -7. Like I said, he has 1 or 2 good putting rounds here. You could see him go really low, especially on the score. So I'll go with Victor Hovland.
All right, bud. Appreciate it. Hang tight. We'll have you back on with Bukes to talk some NFL. We also hear from Astros color analyst Geoff Blum in a little bit. But first, we have NASCAR price check from Pierce Dietrich for this weekend's Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona.
Welcome to the Price Check. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Let's look at the salaries for the 4th of July Daytona race. Whose salary jumped up this week? Daniel Suarez, $7,400 up to $8,100. It's been a great fantasy year for him, but not at the plate tracks, never at the plate tracks. In each of the last 3 Daytona races, Suarez has wrecked. Denny Hamlin, $8,500 up to $9,000, but he's one of the best plate racers in NASCAR. And at Daytona, over the last 10, he's number 1. 2 wins, 7 top 10s. Matt Tifft, $5,400 up to $5,800. Everyone played him last week because he was cheap and he was starting in the back. That's 100% the reason for the price increase. Whose salary dropped this week? Ross Chastain, $5,800 down to $5,100. For reasons unknown, his boss has moved him to the number 27 race car. Be careful, the number 27 is not a race car. It's barely even a car. Corey LaJoie, $5,700 down to $5,200. In 8 plate races, he has 0 top 10s. He has 3 top 20s. But before you write him off, a top 20 can work if he starts in the mid-30s. Kyle Busch, $11,500 down to $11,000. He finished 2nd at Daytona. He finished 10th at Talladega. That's great, but a lot of his fantasy stock depends on where he starts. Favorite play of the week, Joey Logano, $10,200. Anyone can wreck at Daytona. We know that, but only a few drivers that survive the wreck can actually win. Logano is one of those dudes. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., $7,400. I picked Ricky Stenhouse last week. It worked. Let's double down. It's not a stretch. Statistically speaking, he is the best plate racer in NASCAR. All right, guys, check out the DK Playbook for your DFS information and needs. If you have NASCAR questions, hit me up on Twitter at RaceForThePrize. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Catch me on DK Live.
Now in the sweat is Geoff Blum, former player and current broadcaster for the Astros. Geoff, we're going to get right into it. The Astros are in first place at the July 4th mark, have a 7.5 game lead. Maybe the most impressive is their 31-13 home record. Why are they so tough to beat at Minute Maid Park?
I think a lot of it has turned into a very good place for them to play, and it goes back to 2017 for me when they played in the playoffs and they won every single game at home. They do a good job there. I think having the roof closed is a benefit to them because it does get extremely loud inside Minute Maid Park. But during the regular season, it's really been a big shift for them playing well at home. And I think it's just a matter of these guys making the adjustment to playing at Minute Maid Park, because without Towles Hill in center field, the batting eye is a little bit smaller, so it's tougher to pick up the baseball. And the new LED lighting there has really brightened things up a little bit. So it's taken a couple of adjustments in the last couple of years. But these guys love coming home. They love hitting in this ballpark because they know if they make a simple mistake off the barrel, it still has a chance of getting out.
Yeah, so switching to the guys, obviously, who is one of the best aces that we've seen in a while, Justin Verlander, on the mound to open up a weekend series against the Angels. You've gotten to see from him for a while now, but he just seems to get better and better. How impressive has he been this season?
It's been remarkable. We watched him in 2017 before he came to the Houston Astros, and the first half wasn't very good. Second half, something clicked, and he started to pitch extremely well. Obviously, the health at his age is a big key, so he's done a good job in maintaining his body and being able to go out there and get better. But the Astros analytics, they do such a good job of scouting these guys and finding out little tweaks in their deliveries that they can actually make these guys a little bit better. But I think the Astros saw something in Justin's slider, and they brought him over. And you got to give a lot of credit to Justin Verlander, too. A salty veteran like him, usually they come over, and it's tough to teach an old dog new tricks. But he is a guy that came over here with an open mind, listened to the advice they had, and all of a sudden they turned his good slider into a complete devastating wipeout slider. And they've also talked to him a lot about pitching up in the zone. That's one of the things that the Astros have taught with Brent Strom is get elevated with the fastball, rush it past these guys in the mid-90s, and then if they do happen to get to that pitch, they can get to that slider down in the zone. But he is just still a strikeout machine. And I actually talked to a couple of the trainers, how do guys adjust to being around Justin Verlander? And they said they can't replicate what he does because Justin is such a freak. He's hyper flexible. His routine is completely different. So you watch what he does, but you can't replicate what he does. He's one of a kind.
Yeah, that's great. You've seen him for a while do really well. Now switch to the guys who are hitting it. Alex Bregman in the home run derby this season. Milwaukee's Christian Yelich has already come out and said that he's not concerned that the derby could ruin his swing in the second half. There's no real evidence that this could happen, but we've seen some sluggers struggle in the past. Is there any concern about Bregman?
None at all. He was in it last year, hit 15 home runs in that first round, just lost out to Kyle Schwarber, who got an extra swing because of his ability to hit the ball so far. He got that extra pitch to be able to beat Alex Bregman in that home run derby. And if you go back, and now that we have evidence of Alex Bregman being in the home run derby, we go back and look at his second half numbers after the break, and he came out and hit 288 in the first half, came back in the second half after playing in the All-Star game and hitting in the home run derby, and hit 283 with 11 more home runs to finish off the season. So I don't have any issues with Alex Bregman, and I think the home run derby is unique with some of these guys because Yelich is a proven 300 hitter. Alex Bregman is a guy who can get up to 280 as far as his batting average is concerned. So these guys are professional hitters with the ability to drive the baseball out of the ballpark. But I've got no worries about Alex Bregman. He's too much of a competitor and too much of a perfectionist to let the home run derby swing alter his rest of his season.
Yeah, it should be a fun one to watch. But going back now to the regular season, when Michael Brantley comes over from Cleveland, and all he does is lead the team in batting average up until this point. How much has his addition bolstered this lineup?
It's amazing. Michael Brantley is one of those guys, when we were calling games for the Houston Astros against the Cleveland Indians, Michael Brantley would come to the plate, and we just kind of drop our heads and go, here comes this guy again. He's going to get a base hit. He's going to drive in runs. And he would. And then we see him sign with the Houston Astros, and he's really been a great stabilizing force in the middle of their lineup. And in 2017, some key additions were Beltran, McMahon, some of the veteran guys who put together great at-bats, but also were able to sustain their greatness throughout a 162-game season. And that's what a lot of the young Astros needed. Bregman, Correa, even Springer and Altuve really needed to find a way to get through a 162-game season and still be able to produce and get into the postseason. And I think that's why the Astros, made it a point to go out and get a guy like Michael Brantley, because he can hit. He's going to hit 300. He's going to hit in the middle of this lineup. He's going to drive in 75 to 100 runs because everybody in front of him is getting on base. And it also helps that George Springer is one of his best friends, and they share the same age. And so I'm not going to say there was tampering going on, but there was definitely some friendly banter as far as free agency was in the offseason.
Yeah, you might have heard it here first. No, I'm just kidding. You spoke about Jose Altuve, and has recently returned to the lineup, and it didn't take him long to get into a groove, picking up hits in 7 of his last 8 games back. How much does he mean to this team and the franchise as a whole?
He's turned into the face of the franchise, but it's really bringing back some of that mid to late 90s, early 2000 Biggio Bagwell, that workman type mentality where you go out there and just grind on a daily basis. And it's good to see him getting back into his own groove, because I think that injured right knee really affected his swing. It affected his game overall, because speed is a big issue for him. If he's able to beat out infield hits, that's how he maintains that 300 plus average. And it's him getting in the lineup and him being confident that really drives these guys, because he's not one of the more vocal leaders that's going to get in the clubhouse and get on guys, or get in there and start cheerleading a little bit. He's going to be on the top step to high five you when you get off the field, but he's a guy who leads by example. And if he's getting hits and he's on base, he's a spark, and he really drives these guys. But he is, if you see guys like Springer, Correa, and these guys in the lineup, there's a little extra knowing that Altuve is leading the way, and they need that kind of leadership on the field, because it kind of relaxes everybody else in that lineup to go out there and do their job and drive in runs.
With the first 4 picks of the draft, because when we start combining all these positions together to get the overall rankings, first 4 picks off the board, are these 4 guys, or would you throw in a receiver?
No.
What do you think about Travis Kelce at number 5?
I think it's too early.
That's too much? Too much? Would you go like Melvin Gordon? Because I have Melvin Gordon next in my rankings.
Yeah.
Would he go 5, or would it be like Hopkins?
I go back and forth, actually. It depends on your setting. I could do Hopkins at 5 for sure.
I
personally would go with the backs.
Would you go Melvin though, or would it be like Bell? Would it be Connor?
I
Mixon,
would go
Cook, Chubb?
I would go Bell and then Gordon, and then I'm starting to think about the wide receivers over guys like Connor and Mixon.
I feel like
Cook
people are
and Chubb.
sleeping on Connor.
Connor's actually probably going to be he's probably going to continue to fall down with all the reports that are coming out. Especially when you hear from him, it's going to be a running back by committee. And then the offensive coordinator who dealt with Samuels, he was their tight end coach, is now running the offense there in Pittsburgh. So are they going to use him a little bit more? They draft a back. What are they going to do? How's the offense going to run without Antonio Brown? There's a lot of question marks in Pittsburgh this year, but I think for the most part, what we saw every time we did a show on Monday, Connor always had 95% of the snaps.
Yeah, whenever he was healthy, he was the guy who was getting the ball over and over and over. And it's been a common theme with Pittsburgh throughout the years that whoever the guy is, he gets the ball. There's no goal line vulture who comes in. And even if you knock him down from 95% of the snaps to 70% of the snaps, he's still going to be really good.
Absolutely. He's still definitely going to be an RB1. So I think out of all the guys in this top range, the top 10 running backs, I feel like he's starting to decline a little bit, and people are talking about him in a negative way. But my problem with Kelce is, and we did a mock at The Athletic, and Kelce, I think he was the second pick in the second.
I'd take him there.
And I'm fine with that. But I don't want people taking. You can't take him over guys like Hopkins and Julio, because he's never going to have the catches and yards like that.
I see. Here's the thing.
He's not going to have 1,400 yards.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, he could. If it depends on the Tyreek Hill suspension. We don't know.
He needs Tyreek Hill.
I don't know if he needs Tyreek Hill.
I think
the efficiency will go down, the volume will go up, and the touchdown opportunity will go up.
A little bit of a wash. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he's been the number 1 tight end or a top 3 tight end 3 consecutive years.
Yeah.
And with Garoppolo coming back and San Francisco adding a bunch of pieces, the backfield getting healthy, and then adding Tevin Coleman, maybe George Kittle doesn't quite reach the upside that he did last year. Maybe he takes a step back. Yeah. With Ertz, now you have Deshaun Jackson, and Ertz is more of a PPR play over standard anyway, and we're talking PPR, but it feels like he has a cap on what he's going to do. Kelce, we don't know, but he is the number 1 tight end.
Yeah.
And he could be the number 1 tight end by such a significant margin that is the gap between Hopkins and, let's say, Mike Evans the same as Kelce to Kittle. And if that's the case, then Kelce becomes the best value on the board because you get him at a premium position.
Yeah.
He can compete. When Jake and I went through this, we ranked, if we threw out tight end and put Kelce into the wide receiver pool, I believe we had him ranked at 8th.
And that makes sense. You view him as a wide receiver 1. On his team.
But he gets to play tight end, which is a huge advantage.
It is a huge advantage. You're right. I'm not going to say anything negative about Kelce. He does need Tyreek Hill, though. If there's reports, Hill 4 games, 8 games, whatever. I don't know what it's going to be. But if it is 8 games.
Well, The Athletic came out and said that it's going to be a maximum of 4 games. We'll see if you're fake news or not.
I can't say anything negative about that. But, Zeke got, 6 games? It seems like 4 would be great for him and great for the Chiefs and great for Kelce and everybody else in this offense. But all of a sudden, if it's 8 games, all of a sudden you're without Tyreek Hill and opposing defenses are just going to attack Kelce. That's it. Like, Sammy Watkins hasn't been able to have a full season since his rookie year. And who else are we talking about?
We're talking about super caveman rookie, Cole, hard man.
Yeah, everybody loves him. And fine, sure, you should like him because it's the offense is great.
That's an opportunity play, though. Yeah. And if Hill comes back, well, he's probably kind of useless, isn't he? Unless Watkins gets hurt.
So I would go Hopkins, Adams, Michael Thomas, Julio, and then I would think about Kelce. Then you could go maybe as a wide receiver 5.
Yeah, but I'm not. The whole point is that you don't play him at wide receiver,
right?
And that the gap between the wide receivers isn't as pronounced as the gap at tight end, just making him so valuable. It's like if in years past. And even this year, this is why the running backs are back to being 1, 2, 3, and 4 instead of wide receivers being up there. Because for years, half the league you could find a bell cow running back to mine your volume from that made the gap between running back 3 and running back 16 not all that pronounced. And now at receiver, we're kind of seeing the same thing. Is the gap between Hopkins, and I would even say Mike Evans. I have Mike Evans at number 10. Let's say all the way down to Stefan Diggs at number 16. What is the gap in fantasy points between those two? What's that opportunity cost between Kelce and all the other tight ends? If you're convinced Kelsey's going to be good, which I am.
Yeah.
That's where it kind of leads in. 5 seems a bit too high. I'm with you. But, would I go Hopkins? Yeah. Would I go Adams? Yeah. Maybe after that?
And then
And then I think the tight end eligibility outweighs Michael Thomas being awesome.
Joined now by Mike Francesa of WFAN in New York. We'll start with the obvious question, Mike, looming over in the NBA. Kawhi Leonard yet to sign. It's reported down to the Lakers, Clippers, and Raptors. When is he going to make up his decision, and where do you think he's going to end up?
I still think he'll end up in Toronto. I don't know anything, but I think I think this for one reason, because he said he was going to give them the last go round. He was going to give them a chance to make the last offer, which means to me that he's going to give them a chance to make the best deal. So you hear a lot about him wanting the Clippers. If he goes to the Lakers, and to me, this would be far bigger than anything that happened with Durant, anything that happened with anybody else. If he goes to the Lakers, he changes the face of the league completely. So that would be a very big deal. I just don't see a guy who's a 2-time MVP who has coming off a championship. I don't see him going in and becoming a legitimate second banana behind LeBron. So that would surprise me. So I would say Toronto 1, Clippers 2. But I'll tell you something. I would love to see him go to the Lakers because I think it would be fascinating to see those 3 play together next year.
Yeah, it'll be amazing, a big 3 with probably LeBron at the point there. But if the Lakers do miss on Kawhi, do you still view them as a clear-cut favorite to win the title next year?
No, I don't think they are. I think their team has to show itself. They have to, if they fill the team right. There's a couple of things I don't like. Number one, the regular season doesn't matter. Okay, the bottom line is in the postseason when the games are on the line, I don't like Davis and LeBron on the court together. I think that Davis will get in LeBron's way, and LeBron is going to handle the ball, but he wants to go out and play pick and roll. He doesn't want to feed the post and wait for them to double team the post because LeBron off that doesn't work well. He's not going to work off the post. He's going to only want to work off the pick and roll, and that's how everything works. So they need their 3 shooters. I thought Riddick would have been a perfect guy for them. They need catch-and-shoot guys. If they get 2 or 3 catch-and-shoot guys with LeBron and Davis has got to take a different role here. He's got to take a role where he's more about rebounding, where he's more about rim protection in big games than he does scoring, because he can be a scorer, and there are times when LeBron is off the floor where he will be the primary scorer. We know that, and they'll wait for the double teams and everything else. But when he's on the floor with LeBron, he has got to do the other things if he wants to be a champion.
Yeah, and we'll see Denny Green, too. He's another secondary guy that's waiting on these stars to make their decision when you talk about these spot-up shooters. But talking about a spot-up shooter and probably one of the best that we have yet, Kevin Durant made his decision quickly, choosing to go to the Nets in free agency. We've seen Durant have a difficult time handling the media right at times. Now he's in your neck of the woods. How do you think he'll handle New York?
I think this year will be easy because he won't be around. I think it'll be a free deal. I think it would have been very different if he were healthy. I think then it would have been a big test. I think in year 2 it'll be a test. I really believe this, and I have nothing to go on, but I really believe that if Durant had been healthy, I think he would have been a Knick. Yeah. Because I think it would have been more about him taking his brand right from the finals, right to New York, all that went with that. But what happened was the injury meant that he was going to have to wait, and he was going to have to rely on another player, which was Kyrie, and also rely on player development. And he went to a team that is far better at structure and far better at player development than the Knicks are. So I think it changed everything. I'm not a big Kyrie guy because I don't like how he acted in Boston. If he can be the second banana, he can handle that role well. He already proved that with LeBron. He wasn't smart enough to keep that role. He went and he needed to be the lead guy and found out it's a lot harder to be the lead guy. But Durant, again, he wants the credit. I don't think he wants the heavy lifting. With the credit that a LeBron gets or a Jordan gets comes a tremendous amount of media responsibility and a lot of heavy lifting. And that's where guys like Durant, guys like Leonard, guys like Kyrie have to realize when you want to go play on that level, when you want to be regarded like those other guys, there's a lot of heavy lifting that comes with that job. And that's why a lot of guys, when they get it, they run the other way because, you know, LeBron, he's the center of everything every minute of every day. You have to be built for that. There are very few guys built for that.
Yeah, and then you talk about Durant and Kyrie Irving, so let's shift the focus to on the court now. These guys are teaming up together in Brooklyn, but KD obviously is expected to miss the entire season. What are your expectations for the Nets next season?
Not high. I mean, they could be a team that I think what they want to do is they want to play the way, and they're very well coached. I know that. I know Kenny Atkinson a very long time, very smart. They're a good, solid organization. What they have to do is make it seamless so that the second year Durant can fill the role seamlessly. So what I think they'll do is they'll place someone in what they call the Durant spot this year. Build the thing like Durant's there, even though the guy is a lesser player, and then have a seamless approach when Durant's ready to play. So I think they'll actually have the Durant spot on the court this year, even though they won't have Durant there.
Interesting. A placeholder for KD. That's very interesting.
Basically, so that he can make the transition much quicker, build the pieces that you need, and then it allow him to step in and be the guy who shoots the basketball, who does the things he has to do. And Durant, let's be honest, is a unique talent because there are very few guys who actually have a wingspan of 7'2", who are able to make shots from 30 feet and in with consistency. I mean, he's a very rare, very, very rare player.
I'm here with Rockies second baseman Ryan McMahon. Ryan, welcome to The Sweat. Thanks for joining the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, you guys have the best offense in baseball, averaging over 5 runs per game. So what would you say is the biggest reason for your powerful bats?
I think we just have a crazy deep lineup. You know, you look at the guys at the top of our order, starting with Chuck and then Trevor Story, Nolan, Dahl, Desmond. So, we're just a really deep lineup.
So you're right in the mix for one of the NL wildcard spots. You guys won the wildcard game last season, but then lost in the next round to the Brewers. Obviously, you don't want to dwell on the past, but does that loss motivate you guys to go even further this season?
Yeah, definitely. The year prior to that season, we had lost in the wildcard game. So we're taking baby steps, but the goal is obviously to win a World Series. So that's kind of what we're set on.
So you began your career with the Rockies playing first base, but moved to second last season. Has the switch been a challenge for you?
A little bit. It's taken some time. I'm probably better fit for first base naturally, but I've learned a little bit of second base and worked hard at it.
So I imagine the move to the big leagues can be a little intimidating. So which of your Rockies teammates has taken you under their wing and taught you the most?
Yeah, it really is, honestly, especially for young guys coming up. So we've got some great veterans. We've got Ian Desmond, Charlie Blackmon. Nolan's obviously great to learn from. So we've got some guys who help us out along the way.
All right, this is a really important one. How did you pick your walk-up song?
You know what? It's a song I actually used in high school, and I hit really good in high school. So I figured, it might work up here too. So I just find a song that usually goes along with my hitting.
Not a bad play. Now, according to our internet stalking, you're throwing a football in your Twitter profile picture. We know that you played in high school, right? But did you ever hope to be an NFL player?
No. I just wanted to play in high school. I like playing with my buddies, and it was a good time. But I need to close the yearbook. The yearbook's still open. I still think about football all the time, but that's definitely in the past for me.
All right, let's give out some superlatives for your Rockies teammates. So first up, who has got the best hair?
Charlie Blackmon. That's an easy one. He's got that beautiful mullet going. Second on the team, let's see. I'd probably have to go with, I kind of like Des. He keeps a nice clean cut, looks good, it works for him.
I like that. All right, who would you award best dresser?
Best dresser, probably Trevor Story. At least for his shoe game. He could probably touch up on his wardrobe, but his shoe game it's pretty tight. And
best taste in music goes to
Nolan. Nolan's our DJ. He plays all this stuff. He finds all the new songs first, and that's where I get my music from. He plays some in the clubhouse, and then I go download it.
So important to have a guy like that. Now, how about best sense of humor?
Best sense of humor. I'm gonna go with Pat Valleca. He quietly is a jokester, loves to throw jabs at people, talk a little smack to basically anybody. So, yeah, probably Pat.
All right, finally, deepest stomach, a.k.a. who can eat the most?
Oh, man. Well, I know David Dahl has a milkshake about every night. I don't know if that's the deepest stomach, but that boy can put away some sweets, that's for sure.
Wow, a milkshake every night. That's impressive. Now, Ryan, here at DraftKings, we give out awards for the best fantasy players in each sport. So we've reached the midway point of the season. Who from your team would you nominate for this season's DraftKings Fantasy Baseball MVP?
Oh, man. It's got to be Chuck, right? I mean, the guy's been doing some ridiculous things on the field. I mean, I just know his numbers. I'm sure that parlays well over there at DraftKings. So, yeah, probably Chuck.
We're now joined with Johnny Avello, Director of Race and Sportsbook Operations for DraftKings. Johnny, the U.S. women's national team will face off against the Netherlands Sunday in the World Cup final. Right now, the U.S. is favored to win it all. What factored into the decision here to put them at minus 500 to win the trophy?
How about this one, Reid? Experience. I think that's the biggest factor. This is our third straight final, and this is the Netherlands first. But win or lose here for the USA, they're still the best team in the tournament. But experience goes a long way.
Right, and so do you think it's with that experience, all of those players, they need their full deck with Megan Rapinoe back in? Do you think it matters at all?
I think it does. You look at Megan Rapinoe. She's probably my biggest concern for this next game. She has 5 goals. And I think she plays, by the way. But I've had bad hamstrings before, and they're just difficult. You're always thinking about them. You're favoring the opposite leg. Sometimes you cause more problems to the opposite side. But her offense is really important, as we saw. The team didn't perform as well against England as they should offensively.
So, yeah, in terms of anything that you are monitoring that could impact their current odds, is it just injuries, experience, like what we just mentioned? Is there anything else that you guys are looking at or you're looking at?
Well, we look at everything, of course. This goes for both sides. But Rapinoe's the biggest player right now on our radar. But as we get closer to game time, you need to look at everything, every player.
So, yeah, in terms of what you were saying, looking at everything, what are some of the trends or interesting props that you have your attention heading into the weekend?
Well, first and foremost, we'll watch the action of the game come in, and we'll monitor the betting line according to the action. As far as props, we have Alex Morgan to score the first goal at 3.5 to 1. You can also get Rapinoe at about 4 to 1 to score the first goal. We also have a prop up. Will there be a goal in the first 15 minutes of the game? And you get plus money on that. The yes is plus 115. Will the U.S. win by a shutout? That's a prop we have up that's drawing some action. That's minus 115. And will Alex Morgan win any of the 2 Goldens? The Golden Ball, which is the MVP, she's plus 115. And will she win the Golden Boot? That's the most goals. She's minus 250. So those are the props of just a handful of the props we have up, and they're the ones we're monitoring at this time.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. That first 15 prop is an interesting one. You've seen them score pretty quickly in all of their matches. But again, you look at the U.S. and its 3rd straight World Cup final. From a betting perspective, how does this compare to their 2 previous runs?
Well, this team might be the strongest of any of the 3. They're really so deep, and so most of the players are very interchangeable. The goalie position was the biggest question mark for this team. Alyssa Naher has taken over for Hope Solo, and she's answered the call. So we'll see if she continues her run in the final. But this team is so very good, and it's unfortunately, and this goes not only for USA, but a lot of best teams going into the final game. The best team doesn't always win, but you have to come with your A game on that particular day.
Yeah, target on your back. So it's going to be very interesting, again, if they can go and win it all again. Johnny Avello, appreciate your time. Have a good one.
Thanks a lot, Reid. Have a good day.
It's a DraftKings special we like to call Who's at Bat. So we're going to show you some silhouettes of famous batting stances. Then you're going to try to guess who it is. So you ready for this?
Ready.
All right, let's punch up the first one. Any idea who this is?
Oh.
Guy looks like he's taking a front row seat to the pitcher.
Yeah.
wide open stance, full on spectator mode.
God, I almost want to say Julio Franco, but
Tony Batista.
Oh, he's facing.
Yeah, dude.
How's the pitcher?
I know, he might as well carry a hot dog and a cold beer up to the plate. And it's that bat, the way he's just like facing it. All right, next one.
Oh, isn't that Craig Counsell?
Yep, nailed it. Current manager of the Brewers. Third one here. This is like you start off with the Craig Counsell, but from the right side. Who'd you say?
Right. Isn't that Uke? That Kevin Youkilis?
Julio Franco.
Oh, that's who. Jeez.
Yeah.
I had it.
Dude is 60 years old and said recently he still wants to play baseball.
Yeah, I saw that.
All right, we have two more for you. Any idea?
Jeff Bagwell.
Yep, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Very, very traditional at the top, but like south of the belt, it gets quite strange. All right.
Party happens below the belt.
Last one for you.
Oh, my man.
Yep.
The dirtbag.
Yep, you nailed it, dude. Yep. Hey, I also saw that you guys were trying to prank some of your teammates, right? You and Kep? Didn't quite go over so well.
No, I wish we had the video of us practicing for 30 minutes before we got home and getting water all over our own heads.
Yeah.
Having to dry off, change our own shirt just for him to catch the cup.
Oh, man, good stuff. Mike Clevinger, man, thanks for making some time with us. It was good to talk to you, dude.
Yeah, it was fun, man. Thank you. See you guys.
All right, thank you, guys. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the sweltering heat or the weather wherever you're watching this from. I know these two are comfortable in their air-conditioned rooms. DK Live's Steve Buchanan and Geoff Ulrich both here to talk NFL team previews. Guys, we're only just 2 months away from week 1 of the NFL regular season, and we got to break down the most important fantasy players on each team for this season-long and DFS season. We've covered Geoff's Atlanta Falcons and Bukes' Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but tonight's first team we'll discuss is Emerson's Jacksonville Jaguars, and again, this was the only day we could do without his Jacksonville bias. DK Live's panel has selected Leonard Fournette as their MVP. Geoff, what do you think here?
I mean, if we're talking real-life MVP, obviously I'd bring up Nick Foles and then how big an impact he's going to have, because we all know he's like, top 3 quarterback, but I think they're bang on with Fournette. I mean, I know a lot of people are down on him. I know some people just say, well, he's injured, he can't stay on the field. He's really not been that productive. The yards per carry haven't been there, but I'm of the opinion that this guy was a very, very highly touted running back in college, and not much has changed since then, except for a couple soft tissue injuries. I think that the Jaguars are due for a bounce back. I think that Fournette is the person who is going to lead that bounce back, and I think with Nick Foles under center, an actual competent quarterback, I think it's going to change the outlook of the offense quite a bit. So I'm in for Fournette this year. It's definitely a bit of a gamble because he's shown he has injury problems. He hasn't been he definitely wasn't productive last year, but don't forget, this is a player. He's coming up in that big money contract. It's coming. This is a make or break year for Leonard Fournette. Either he shows he's like a top 5 running back in the league, or he goes off into like sort of, journeymanville. So I think Leonard Fournette's going to come in with a big year. Yeah, I agree. MVP of the Jags.
So, Bukes, you heard Geoff mention that Nick Foles' success is sort of tethered to Leonard Fournette's. Can he be an RB1 this season? What do you think?
It's absolutely amazing. Geoff will never shut up about Nick Foles. Nick Foles this, Nick Foles that. Then he has an opportunity to hype him up for the MVP. And what does he do? He hypes up Leonard Fournette. Come on. You've got to be kidding me. Look, it's hard to be the MVP when you can't stay on the field. And then when you are on the field, you just decide to throw haymakers and get suspended for that. Like, even when he was playing last year, he was averaging 3.3 yards per attempt, 55 yards per game. I guess I'll do the Geoff shtick for you. Nick Foles is going to be the guy for you this year. I mean, we've seen him with limited weapons do what he does before in the past. I think he's going to bring out some of the best in the very lack of receivers that the Jaguars have, especially guys like D.D. Westbrook. Look, they didn't trade for Nick Foles just so he could hand off the ball to Leonard Fournette. This is going to be a pass-heavy what they're going to be moving to. That's why they got a guy like Nick Foles, somebody who's actually competent at the quarterback position. Leonard Fournette, I think, is going to fade away into this offense. And when he can't get on the field, maybe he'll start punching his own teammates or something.
I mean, I hope Steve's right. I kind of disagree that it's going to be a pass-heavy offense, but we'll see. It'd be great if it was. I mean, hey, I'll enjoy it.
Now you're back on the Foles train. Okay.
Well, kind of switching gears here to the LVP, right? So the least valuable player. The DK panel is all the tight ends, that entire position, which includes Jeff Swaim, Josh Oliver, and James O'Shaughnessy, a trio of big hitters there. Bukes, this may be the lowest scoring position every week. Any one of these guys going to help us, or did the panel actually get this one right?
I mean, this mystery panel, I don't know where they're getting this information from. I mean, look, Jeff Swaim, he's more of a blocker than a receiver, so, I can't see him being much of a factor. I think Josh Oliver is fine. I think he's actually an interesting target for a decent amount of receptions this season. I mean, when you look at this position, he could end up being the savior of this position, but it's not because he's going to have to do much to really be that. So, look, the Jaguars have never been a heavy offense on tight ends. I don't think that's going to change now. But, I think this is something they actually really got correct when they were making their predictions here. I think the tight end position, per the usual for the Jaguars, is just going to be a forgotten position.
Jeff, you see that line there of 59 receptions, 530 yards, and a touchdown for the entire slew of tight ends last year. What do you think?
Yeah, I wrote up the tight ends for the Jags every week last year for the DK Live app, so I'm very familiar with how bad the Jacksonville tight end situation is, and they did not really improve it this year. Steve's right, Josh Oliver could be interesting. Nick Foles could make one of these guys viable for fantasy. At the same time, they're not going to be viable to the point where you're going to go out and draft them or something like that in a 12-man redraft. There's just nothing there. So it's the easy answer. My pick for least valuable player, I think it's going to be D.D. Westbrook. I think this guy's getting way overhyped, and I think when you look at the wide receiver core for Jacksonville, there's nothing that differentiates D.D. Westbrook from the other 4 or 5 guys there. So my pick is D.D. Westbrook personally.
Well, staying at that, DK Live's panel has D.D. Westbrook as a breakout candidate for Duval's finest. So who would be your breakout candidate if it's not D.D.?
Yeah, again, who is this panel? I don't even know who I'm talking to at this point. But I think D.D. Westbrook, like I said, is just getting overhyped. He's getting overdrafted, and I think he's going to end up being a bust because you have DJ Shark behind him, who's a much more talented receiver. There's a reason they took him so high in the draft last year. And it's like everyone has just forgotten that he's there. And then they signed Chris Connolly, who himself has some very, very big metrics. And you saw him perform sometimes in Kansas City. Keelan Cole is still there, who I would take over D.D. Westbrook, although Cole was terrible last year. But I think DJ Chark is going to have a big year. He'd be my pick for a breakout candidate. I think that they draft this guy high for a reason. I think Nick Foles is going to make him work. I think he's got the most potential of anyone on that receiving core. I think DJ Chark's going to be a breakout player.
So, Bukes, do you agree with Geoff or the panel here?
Yeah, definitely not the panel. Sharp was definitely the guy I was going to go to as well. I think, like Geoff was saying, they drafted him so high to begin with for a reason. I think they see a lot of potential with him. And then when they drafted him, they knew they were going to have Nick Foles at the time too as well. So I think that connection there, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think Oliver might be someone too. I don't think Oliver's going to go out and shatter the world with his production, but I think he's in a really good spot that, Swaim's not going to take a lot of receptions. Oliver could very easily slide into the number one tight end position, just by doing a little production. Doesn't need to do much here. This is a team that doesn't really have anybody nipping at the heels to take over the position. So I think Oliver's a good one. I think Sharp's a good one, but I think it's just going to be another long year for the Jaguars, unfortunately.
Yeah, good thing Emerson's out here. So let's move on to the Green Bay Packers. A little more promise, hopefully, than the Jags here. Bukes, they are predicting Geronimo Allison will be their fantasy MVP this season. I know you can't agree with that, but what do you think?
I didn't know what I was reading. I had to read it like 3 or 4 times. Did we think he was going to be the LVP? I don't know how you tag him as the MVP. To his credit, He was having a good season before he's injured. Got 20 of his 30 targets, 303 yards, 2 touchdowns in 5 games. But realistically, he's like the wide receiver 3 most likely in this offense. I mean, Davante Adams is a clear-cut number 1. He's your MVP. There's no question about that. Did we forget about Davante Adams? I'm not sure. Then there's Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They, I don't want to take too much into OTAs, but they were looking good together. He looks like he's going to be the clear-cut number 2. And then there's Allison. Like, they're going to need to work him back into this offense. He's the guy that missed the majority of the season last year. So for him to be MVP, like, I'm going to have to contact my lawyers so that this panel just stops making
Geoff, what do you mean? He had some good games last season, Geoff. What do you think about Allison?
I mean, the only thing Allison has going for him is that apparently Aaron Rodgers likes him. I mean, big deal, right? Aaron Rodgers said he likes Jake Comeru too. So I don't know. Take that for what you will. But yeah, again, it's like the D.D. Westbrook argument. Like, nothing about Geronimo Allison sets him apart from the other 3 or 4 young wide receivers there. Steve didn't even mention Equanimeous St. Brown, who's much bigger and like just as fast. And in my opinion, has way more talent and way more potential to possibly become like a number 1, 1A type wide receiver. Jake Comeru is there. We haven't even talked about him yet. So like for Geronimo Allison just to come out and catch 90 passes here, that just seems so strange. I think Allison is going to take a bit of a step back by the end of the season. Personally, like I said, I just feel like he's a little bit limited now. If Aaron Rodgers just decides he's going to throw to Allison like 10 times a game, then it's going to happen because Aaron Rodgers is going to do what he wants. So, take that for what it is. But personally, no, I don't see it happening.
All right, Geoff, we'll stay with you. The panel predicts Jimmy Graham will be the LVP, meaning a player who will be overvalued. Do you think that will be the case?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be someone out there drafting Jimmy Graham because they remember that he won him a league when he played for the New Orleans Saints like in 2010, right? So like, oh, Jimmy Graham in the 6th round, that's pretty good. It's not, though. I mean, he's terrible. Like, he's done. I mean, maybe it's not even done. It's just that, there's just no interest there from Aaron Rodgers to throw to Jimmy Graham on a consistent basis. And I don't know, Matt LaFleur coming in, I guess you could see a change in focus, maybe see a bit of a bounce back. But at this point in time, with him being age and injuries, even if he does get a few more targets this year, what is he realistically going to do with them? And then you've got all these wide receivers to worry about. So I don't see it bounce back at all for Jimmy Graham. I agree. He's probably going to be the least valuable player.
Bukes, do you agree with that? And then where would you think that this guy should be drafted if that's the case? Uh-oh.
I mean, like what judging here. I mean, with LaFleur taking over, we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay, we're back. The thing here with LaFleur taking over is that, we could see, more offense going towards Jimmy Graham here. I mean, regardless of how he's been playing, he's still one of the biggest guys in the red zone on this team. I mean, he's a huge guy. Obviously his red zone presence is still great there. I mean, at the end of the day, if he's just going to be catching touchdowns, if that's is going to be his forte, there's nothing wrong with that. But expecting big games out of him week in and week out, I just don't see it here. So, I guess the panel did okay on this one. Wasn't that hard to predict. So, I mean, congratulations on this layup that you have.
I will say this, you know what the bold pick for least valuable player would have been? It would have been Aaron Rodgers. Whoa. Aaron Rodgers coming off a bad year. Now they got Matt LaFleur as head coach. The Titans ran the 4th least plays in the league last year. They had the 9th most running plays. Matt LaFleur, everything points to he's just going to come in and run the ball like Mike McCarthy. And Aaron Rodgers is going to have a so-so year and not even throw that much. So with the way people overdraft Aaron Rodgers, they want to take him as the 3rd quarterback. I would not be shocked if he just put up another sort of a duddish year. So nothing against Aaron Rodgers. He's perhaps, still the greatest quarterback in the league, but for fantasy purposes,
all right, coming with those hot takes, trying to get those clicks. I like that. So actually, Bukes, we'll stay with you here. They've also got Jake Kumerow. We've talked about him as a breakout player for the Packers. What do you think about that?
Like I said, he doesn't seem like he's high on the pecking order. I think MVS is actually really the guy here that you want to be looking at. If he's going to be the number 2 guy behind Davante Adams, when there's games where he's getting double covered, MVS could be the guy here that Rodgers is going to be going to. So I think just that opportunity alone really makes him for a good breakout candidate because just of the options that they have otherwise. So I think he'd be the one. I think the MVS is in a really good spot here this season.
Geoff, you agree with that?
I'd probably lean Kumerow over Marcus Valdes-Scantling. I think Kumerow is just a bit more of a complete receiver. We saw him come on. He's getting talked up by Aaron Rodgers too. So, but I mean, realistically, all 4 of these young wide receivers are. And I think that's kind of points to a problem when you're looking at Green Bay for fantasy purposes. who exactly is going to be the number 2 wide receiver? Because it really could be any of the 4 names we've mentioned so far. It could be Geronimo Allison, even though I don't like him. Like I said, if Aaron Rodgers starts to work with him early, it's going to be Geronimo Allison, regardless of what I think about him as a prospect. I see Comero has more upside than Allison, in my opinion, and Valdez-Scantling, but doesn't mean he's going to be the one that gets worked in. If I had to pick, I would pick Comero for the breakout player. I agree with the panel on this one, but like I said, realistically, it could be any one of those 4.
All right, Geoff, you are done for tonight. Enjoy the weekend, bud. Bukes and I are talking chase or fade in tonight's 13-game slate right now. So, Bukes, look, we have about 8 minutes left in terms of what we're talking about here. And this is a huge slate, right? 13 games from all the way from the Red Sox coming in facing the Tigers here. So let's get right to it. The Red Sox are the biggest favorite on the slate. They are on the road with Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound against the Tigers. Chase or fade that the Sox have the best matchup on the slate tonight?
Yeah, because so look, it looked like originally Ryan Carpenter was going to start this game, but now they're going to be running Soto out there. And honestly, it really doesn't make a difference. I mean, they're 2 really poor lefties, no matter who is going to start this game. They have an implied team total of 6.5 runs tonight. And they got some really good power against lefties, 202 isolated power, which just ranks them outside the top 10 in the league here. Just JD Martinez matchup alone, what he's been doing on the road against lefties is almost enough to love the Red Sox here tonight, especially if they get some guys on base in front of them here. But Detroit's offense has just been so putrid. We've seen Rodriguez struggle some on the road, but the Tigers have been nothing special against lefties either. So there's just so many factors to like about the Red Sox in this game, and that's why they're a big heavy favorites for a reason here. So I like the Red Sox a lot. I think a lot of people are going to be looking towards them for tonight. So yeah, I definitely got to agree that the Red Sox are in a really, really favorable spot tonight against the Tigers.
Okay, so one of the lowest totals on the slate is the Phillies and Mets at 8.5. It's Vince Velasquez versus Jacob deGrom. Chase or fade that the Phillies can get to deGrom enough for this game to hit the over?
Yeah, I'm just not really seeing it here. I mean, since deGrom allowed 6 runs against the Marlins, he hasn't allowed more than 3 runs in a start since then, and that was way back on May 17th. I mean, the last time he went out, he gave up 3 runs to the Braves. Since then, in 7 starts before then, it was 2 runs or less. So the Phillies are not a good team on the road. They've hit much better at Citizens Bank Park. So now they're traveling to Citi Field, a good pitcher's park. 8.5 runs right now for this game. That feels like a lot to hit the over on, especially against deGrom. You have to. Here's when the Mets bullpen comes in. They've been an absolute gas can. It feels like all seasons long. So there's one potential to hit the over. But if we're just looking at like the first 6 innings, we're getting good starts from Velasquez and from deGrom here. I think this game is safe with the under. So I'm definitely going to go with the under in this one.
All right, moving on. Teammates Nelson Cruz at plus 245 and CJ Cron at plus 310 to go deep tonight against Adrian Sampson. And the Rangers, chase or fade that neither of these guys homers tonight in Minnesota, and you're better off looking elsewhere for your home run pick.
Yeah, I'm going to fade this one here. I mean, you look at these guys here. I mean, Cron and Cruz. I mean, both these guys have combined for 24 home runs against right-handed pitchers. That's 20% of the team total. They currently have 119 on the year here. So I have no problem taking either of these guys here. You look at what Sampson has done for the Rangers, really struggling against the home run ball, 1.5 home run over 9 on this season. Home runs have always been an issue for him. So now he's going against one of the most powerful teams in the entire league with the Twins. I mean, this is a team that consistently mashes opposing pitching, and now you have a guy who struggles with the home run ball as it is. So I mean, look, anybody on the Twins at this point, I feel like you can't go wrong with. All of these guys have double-digit home run potential. So getting 2 of those guys who really have been a big reason why they have so many home runs on the season, I definitely have no problem with that one there.
All right, Bukes, it's your time to shine here. Who is your lock for tonight's slate?
Yeah, I think Masahiro Tanaka is in a really, really good spot here. He's going up against the Rays. He's absolutely dominated them in the past 3 starts. And he's under that 10K range. He's about 9,500 tonight. So getting him above those top-tier guys in a really good matchup and one that he succeeded in almost all season long in the past 3 starts, I feel like you can't miss him here tonight.
All right, thanks, Bukes. Enjoy your weekend, and that will do it for the highest-rated show in Sweat history. I know that already. Thanks to everyone who put on this amazing show. Bukes, all right guys in the back like Samir, Billy, Axe, Glennon, Cody, Aiden, Slate, and Rigia. All you guys did an amazing job. Round of applause. Have a safe holiday weekend. We'll see you next week, as always, from 6 to 7 weekdays on all the socials. Take care.